The Snake Princess, a fairy tale about grooming. What if I told you that one of the most beloved folklore tales from Eastern Europe is actually a step-by-step manual for predatory behavior? That the romantic story of a maiden who marries a serpent prince isn't about love at all, but about isolation, control, and the normalization of danger? Because when you strip away the fantasy, the Snake Princess follows a pattern that child safety experts would recognize immediately. Let's start with what appears to be happening. A young woman named Eagle encounters a talking serpent at a pond. Within seconds of meeting her, this creature proposes marriage. She laughs and says yes, treating it like a joke, like the forest spirit playing tricks, her sister suggests. But 3 days later, an entire court of snakes arrives at her family home to collect her. And here's where the fairy tale does something disturbing. It frames her compliance as honor, her family's terror as ignorance, and her departure with literal serpents as an act of courage. Notice the language Eagle uses to justify her decision. They came to ask, not to take. They're beautiful. She's reframing obvious danger as politeness. She's aestheticizing a threat. And when her father warns her that she doesn't know what waits beneath those waters, she replies, "Something inside me tells me this is not something to fear." This is instinct override. She's been conditioned in just 3 days to ignore every natural warning signal her body and family are giving her. Now let's talk about what happens when she descends. The underwater kingdom is described as overwhelmingly beautiful, crystal and color and calm. A kingdom of color and calm. This is the love bombing phase. Gilvinus reveals his true form as a handsome prince and immediately tells her she broke his curse. Think about that framing. He's making her responsible for his transformation. He's telling her she's special, chosen, the only one who could see him clearly. And then he asks again, "You once said you would marry me. Do you still wish to?" He's holding her to a promise she made as a joke, in front of witnesses who aren't even human, in a kingdom where she has no power and no exit. She says yes. Of course she says yes. She's isolated, overwhelmed, and surrounded by his subjects. And the kingdom celebrates for 3 days, marking her transformation from a girl with a family into the queen of the waters. Years pass, she has 4 children. And here's what the story wants you to believe. She's happy. She laughs. She brings calm to the forest. But listen to what she actually says when her children ask about the world above. "People, my family, whom I haven't seen in so long." She uses the word haven't, not couldn't or can't. There's no indication Gilvinus ever prevented her from visiting. She just didn't for years, until her children, who have never met their grandparents, beg to go. When they finally surface, her father's first words are, "We thought we feared," not "We missed you," not "Where have you been?" They thought she was dead. And Gilvinus's response is telling. "I know you were frightened when I took her to my kingdom." Took, not when she came with me. Took. But here's where the story reveals its true function. Eagle's brothers, Jonas, and the others are positioned as villains for doubting Gilvinus. They ask the question any rational person would ask. What if he's keeping her under some spell to look happy? And the narrative punishes them for this. They devise a test. They lure Gilvinus onto land using a song the children taught them. And when he begins to die, the story frames this as fear-driven madness, not protective intervention. Eagle's response is even more revealing. Rather than beg her brothers to release him, rather than negotiate or fight, she immediately chooses mutual destruction. If love has no place in this world, then I choose to leave it. She transforms herself and her children into trees. Not just herself, her children. She eliminates their agency entirely, condemning them to a lifetime as rooted plants because her husband is dying. This is the ultimate act of enmeshment, the final proof that she has no identity separate from him. And the story frames this as romantic sacrifice, as proof of true love. Gilvanus's grief brings them back, and the brothers learn their lesson. Fur builds walls, but love builds bridges. But what they've actually learned is never to question the serpent again, never to test whether Eagle is truly free, never to offer her an exit. Because here's what the Snake Princess is really teaching: that isolation from family is a sign of devotion, that ignoring danger is courage, that a partner who removes you from your support system and makes you dependent on an underwater kingdom you can't leave without his permission is romantic, that your children's lives are extensions of your relationship, not separate beings with their own right to safety. This isn't a fairy tale about love conquering fear. It's a fairy tale about fear disguised as love. And the most disturbing part? We tell it to children as a happy ending.